Welcome, everyone. It's Teresa with Diaries of the Late Bloomers. This is episode number 2, Fooled by Love. And you're with myself, Daniela, and we have a special guest today. We are introducing the Oracle, and he is going to be our mansplaining. He's going to be the one that gives us some feedback and perspective from the male point of view. So that should be interesting, and we're looking forward to that. So on today's episode, I think we can all relate. We've all been in situations, whether they are personal relationships or business relationships, friendships, where we've been fooled by someone. And we're doing that today because it's April Fool's. What a great day to land on. Daniela, would you like to say good morning?
Good morning, everybody. The sun is shining and the birds are chirping here.
Mr. Oracle?
Hello. I'm here with my haters.
Okay, he's here to throw all men under the bus. Yay! I think
No.
no, but to give us a real life male perspective, right?
Right.
For the most part.
Okay. Well, I know you not to be a liar, so it should be interesting at best. So I thought I would kick this off from a personal experience, which I thought today I can look at this and I can laugh. I can see some humor in it. But at the time, which was almost 30 years ago, 1997, I was dating a guy. We'll call him Mike. That's what we'll call him for the show. And I kind of really fell for Mike like we do. I was 29 years old and divorced with 2 little ones. And I placed a personal ad, believe it or not. And this is back in the days when print was still a thing. And I put a very quick ad in the Penny Saver. And a gentleman responded. And when I actually met him, I was surprised. He was much better looking, much more put together than I ever imagined. And we started dating, and things were going really well. And I consider myself pretty average, pretty regular chick. So within, 6 months, I had pretty much, fallen for this guy, head over heels type of thing, was building a future with him in my mind. And about 6 months in, he came over to my apartment one day. Everything was normal. And he said, "Oh, yeah, I got to leave early. I'm going to go help a friend of mine hang curtains." And hanging curtains became the most suspicious. Wait a minute, hanging
Right.
curtains? And when you know somebody or you think you know somebody, you kind of know what to expect. And it was odd. And it sent the red flags up, of course. And so over the next month, there were more flags, such as, him being late, changing plans and so forth. And I did learn that this person that he once had a crush on was now single, and he was kind of going down this road. So I broke up with him, as any, self-respecting woman would do, right?
Correct.
So he came back as, and I thought that when he came back that was an understanding that obviously I don't want to date a man that's dating multiple women. So we proceeded. And then the second discovery came, with which he had an accident, and I found out he was with her. I had to go help him get a car, and I was pretty well done by this point. But men can be charming. And when, there's a saying that you can, you got to love someone's present and not their future. And that potential is the biggest scam in any relationship. And it's true, because you really do want to believe somebody. So the funny part why I'm sharing this story is we did get back together. And I am a person whose love language is acts of service. So I want to show you rather than tell you. And so I designed this plan. Valentine's Day was coming, and I didn't have a lot of money at the time. I was a single mom working not a menial job, but a job that didn't pay super well. So I got real creative, and I cut T-shirts up and made pillows, and I bought chocolates. I even made sex coupons, if you can believe it. And
I believe it.
right? The things that you do to capture their attention, right?
Do you have any of those left?
What was that?
Do you have any of those left?
Do I have any left?
Yeah.
That's an interesting, yeah. So I ended up making this plan to stay the night at his apartment, telling him that mine was getting fumigated. And his apartment where he worked was like two minutes from where he worked. So he came home every day for lunch, and I knew this. And so I stayed the night. When he left, I decorated his entire apartment. I mean, I threw up Valentine's Day. This was like an epic tornado. From the time you opened the door, there were little cut hearts all over the floor leading to the bedroom, which I locked the door by mistake. It had one of those push knobs. So I had the bed lit up in lights. I had hearts all over the walls. I had streamers, I had coupons. So I go to work and I know he goes home at 11:30 and 11:30 comes and no text. But at this time, I think it was actually I had a pager then. This was 1997 of all times. So I waited and 12 came, 1 came, 2 came. I was now nervous and petrified because we had not dropped the I love yous yet, even though we had been dating, like 7 or 8 months. I think it was about 9 months by this time. And finally at 3 p.m., I get this, I need to see you tonight. So I'm nervous. I go home. So he shows up at my apartment at 7 o'clock carrying a bag, and it's a Rite Aid bag, and it has a candle and a card. It was like it was a shit show, for lack of a better term, as far as it was unthought out. It was just last minute, you could tell. And he hands me this bag, and that was, I guess he couldn't do it anymore. That was when I found out he was back. He had been dating this girl and seeing this girl, and so we broke up, and that was the end of that. And then life goes on. We went in different directions, of course. And then 14 years later, we connected on Facebook. And wouldn't you know it, Valentine's Day comes rolling around, and I get a message from him, and he says, "Hey, you know what, Teresa? I, I I can't have a Valentine's Day in life without thinking about you. You really did it. Wasn't that hysterical? The way that I had Bridget coming over, that was her name. I had Bridget coming over for our daily rendezvous. And when I walked into my apartment, I accidentally decorated the wrong woman's lunch hour. And he's telling me this as if
Oh,
I
me.
knew and I didn't know. And the funny part was I was angry, even 14 years later, because betrayal and deception don't have an expiration date. And I was hearing this for the first time. And, we proceeded to have an argument, and then I've never heard from him again. But there is a point to all of this, which is throughout that story, there were many opportunities. There were many times I saw red flags. I did do the right thing. I did break up with him. But I think when you set your boundaries and your accountability, sometimes they get blurred a little when you really want something, when you want love from somebody. So
Right.
that was my biggest, that wasn't April Fool's Day. That was Valentine's Day, but it's just one of those things that has, forever stuck with me. And I know that Daniela and I speak often about, our love language. And so for me, the acts of service, I will pull my goofy, heartfelt displays of, you are important to me. And as far as being a fool, I think at the time I probably felt extremely foolish because I had so many warnings and there were so many things that I did not actually um, maybe I chose to ignore, and I think a lot of us have been there. So maybe my story's a little over the top, but I'm sure, for our listeners, there are definitely people that can relate to kind of where I was and how I felt and, the disappointment. And it's still, to this day, I can't have a Valentine's Day without thinking about it. So, Oracle, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I would have been angry too. And like you said, even 14 years after, still a little angry. But the guy was definitely playing you.
Well, of course he was.
Yeah.
He had 2 girls, and I was, but in that, I mean, I made myself available, right? I mean, I allowed it. I could have pulled that plug, long before that, but I think how we treat people, are we recognizing the patterns of mistreatment? Or do we continue to put ourselves in those situations out of hope? And hope is
Right.
not a plan.
And I think that people, this happens every day to people. What I wanted to talk about was reflecting on the theme and the illusion of it and make you ponder. And I'm struck by the moments where what we perceive is warped, leading us to believe what we really want to believe rather than facing the reality, which is exactly what you just spoke about, right?
Yes, that was my reality. And, um, th th you know, that also speaks to age and wisdom
Right.
because at this age, that never would have happened.
Right.
But at, 29 years old, when you are still, even after divorce, you are married to the illusion that, love comes in certain waves. It comes in, the white picket fence, I think as little people, little girls,
Right.
we definitely have an illusion of a fairy tale, and that's why so many of us think about our weddings for so long, or you meet a guy and you try on his last name. I know the Oracle can back me up on this. Men don't meet women and think, oh, and put her name with your last name. Like, oh, this could be
True.
my wife.
True, but I think that's also a generational thing. I think our generation, that's what we were taught to find Prince Charming and to live happily ever after, right? And I think the younger generations, they're thought to go out and do whatever you want. That's more their thought process first, where ours was find Prince Charming, have children, live happily ever after.
And that's interesting because I can tell you just from observation, just from personal experience, I've noticed, which I don't know how many other people have noticed, our children are getting married later. More of that generation. What are we? We're Generation X. So the millennials are definitely, I most of the people that I knew growing up were married. They were having children 19, 20, 22, 23. Now a lot of the moms that I know, their kids are in their 30s,
Right,
which
right.
I think
And
the
they're
divorce rate's probably down.
um yeah, I don't. I also think that not only that, they're having less kids too, right? Where it was always 2 kids at least or bigger families and 2, the cost in life, right? It's hard. So everything's really changed and come full circle.
So tell me a little bit about your thought on this Fooled by Love and what you were,
Mhm.
your opinion as far as what you were thinking, what road you were
Sure.
traveling down.
So, I look at it and the way to describe this to you guys is have you ever noticed someone performing love in real life? Because we do it every day. Family, your friends, doctors, teachers, coworkers, and we put on a mask to fool others, right? Um, how much of what we show in relationships is actually for other people instead of for us, right? I can say I've done it,
So
you
what do you
know.
mean? Go a little deeper into the weeds and help me understand what you mean by that, by performing love.
Well, I think that, in whether it's work, right? At work, with me being in the cemetery business, I see people daily. It'll be a funeral, it'll be a huge funeral. And in minutes, I can tell if there's love, if there's connection. In marriages, I think that people, we just go through the motions and we do because we're so used to doing, not because it's what our heart is telling us that we should do. That's the act of, the show of a relationship.
So
Uh,
you think there are a lot of people
sure.
expressing more what they think they're supposed to show versus what's true to their heart?
Well, I think that honesty scares people more than confrontation, right? Say at work for me with, a funeral. And again, it'll be absolute silencing and they're looking at me for direction. Whereas a family that's loving, when you walk up, you can tell they're talking, they're laughing, they're hugging. But if I go to lead a funeral and they're not talking and they're looking at me for direction, or the other case, it's so
So
out there.
with that being said, one of the things that do you think that in our generations that there is greater connection or lesser connection in people as far as being vulnerable? Do you think it has nothing to do with generations? Because I do imagine when you are at the end of life and you are
Mhm.
someone has exited and there is closure because you're not going to have an opportunity to revisit anything that you may have wanted to. Everybody's feelings are different, right? There are some people
Right.
that choose not to show up. There are other people, like I know for myself I could never give a eulogy.
Mhm.
People would say to me, "Oh, Teresa, you're super strong," and I am. I put up a wonderful and I am truly strong. It's not a facade, but the very core inner person of my being is super sensitive. I'm super. in tuned, in touch with healing and people and connection, and I like feel other people's suffering. So when it comes to speak in that vein, I can't do it. I can't do it without breaking down. And it's not that I'm afraid to break down. I truly believe the only true path in life to have a satisfying, fulfilling, healthy, joyful life is to be vulnerable.
Right.
If you are walking through this universe, this lifetime, with pattern protection and a false facade of who you are to protect yourself with your guards, you are missing the most important part of what life is about, and that is about connection. If you are not connecting with other people, and there's only one way to do that, I mean, there's no way to fake that. That's a spiritual connection,
Mhm.
and it is that you have to be willing to be vulnerable. You have to be willing to share. And I think in the vein of the Fooled by Love, that's part of what touches this is that you have the person on the one side that's performing and you
Mhm.
have the person that is connecting. And when those two things are not aligned, that is where you get the fools, the love fools for love, because the fool is the one that's vulnerable. So I think it's really critical to say this. Um, a fool may be a fool in the eyes of the person that who tricked them, but in
Mhm.
the eyes of everyone else, you were the person that was willing to give. You were the person that was willing to be vulnerable. You were the person that did the right thing. I mean, spiritually, that's what it's about, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
you're born into this world, you have nothing, you leave with nothing, but people say that, but that's not true. You leave with every imprint you ever
Right.
gave in touching somebody's life. And the legacy that you leave is that wonderful memory, that place that somebody holds for you. And you don't do that with money, and you don't
Right.
do it with not being vulnerable. So if you're the type of person that has walked around with all these guards, all these walls up, all these protections, and let's call them what they are. They are excuses. They are
Mhm.
excuses to protect yourself.
Right.
And that's valid. I'm not dismissing that, but I'm saying that's probably why people talk about the harder work. And then, so I would like to ask the Oracle on this because this is something that we've talked about. Um, Men refer to women sometimes, I'm sorry, ladies, but it's true, as prey. And what that means is men are hunters in a lot of ways, right? And so when we were designed physiologically, we were designed for sex, for reproduction, right? Not
Mhm.
not as a and so men have learned the game. They've learned the hunt. And the man that is not looking, even if a guy is looking for a wife, let's say a guy's looking for a wife, right?
Right.
He's going to meet a lot of women that don't fit his criteria right
Right.
out of the gate. But that doesn't mean he doesn't want to have sex with those women.
Right.
Well, he does. Yeah,
He does,
yeah.
right? So a woman that is walking around there, I guess there is such a thing as being too vulnerable in a way. Men smell that.
Right.
Um, and so sometimes that being a fool or being played like a fool can be that when vulnerability becomes desperation, when it's I think Daniela and I have talked about this a lot. I know,
Mhm.
that I'm happily married, so there are probably people that don't give me credit for having to deal with the dating situation. But the truth is, I did it. I mean, I met my husband on a Craigslist ad.
Right.
And so, I'm willing to laugh at myself. I'm willing to be honest with myself. And I think that part of why we have the Oracle, not that he's saying much today, but is to help women understand how men fall in love and how men operate. And I'm really grateful that he shares that with us because a lot of men won't. So,
Well, you really
Miss,
hammered it on the sex part because a guy just doesn't fall in love. At, I, I'm sorry to say it until he has sex with a woman. Like wow, that was amazing, and I can't go a day without talking to her and this and that. And
what?
yeah, I mean, guys they connect differently than women.
But wait a second. Wait a second here. You're blowing my mind in the sense that I thought that sex and love had nothing connected with men.
No, that's not true.
So, okay. So then where's the differentiation? If you can have sex and feel nothing, and then you say that another woman comes in and blows your mind and you can't stop thinking about her, they are the same thing. They just happen differently.
No, that's
Help me understand.
I don't want people to get it confused. Like, don't go out and just give it to everybody, find love. You know what I mean? You still have to do the steps.
I don't know what you're doing, but you're having a mic issue because I know I'm not hearing my mic issue and I'm not hearing Daniela's, but I'm hearing a lot of, I think you need to sit still, Mr. Oracle.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Is this better?
Yes, it is. So no, I'm serious. Women want to know. There's a lot of really wonderful, I know so many wonderful single women. I really do. I also know a lot of women that have given up. I mean, they just don't even entertain the idea of having a man in their life anymore. And it's because they feel as if, everybody out there is a jokester or a con man or,
Mhm.
they just can't find a good guy. So
Well,
this is really valuable information.
guys go through the same issues. I mean,
True.
they only go out looking for sex. They don't go out looking for love. That it's they're jaded, I guess you would say. But it only takes that one special meeting. You know what I mean?
Right.
At a grocery store, you meet somebody, and I'm not saying bars are a great place to meet people, but it happens. But I think men connect differently than women when it comes to the love thing. I mean, there's physical attraction and
Which leads back to people's love language, and men communicate very different than us, right?
oh, gee,
Men are visual and we're all about the words, right? As well. So it again, Teresa, that's where it goes back to people communicating. And you said, do I think that our generation is better communicators than others? Oh, absolutely. And one of the reasons for that is think about it. We didn't have social media. We didn't have phones. We had each other. If we got in a fight, we talked. There was one phone. It was in the kitchen. Everybody could hear you, and you had a time limit, right?
Yeah, right.
And so that forced us to communicate. That forced you to look at the person. Whereas I feel that the generations now, you don't understand what a text message is saying. And in 2 seconds, I can hear your voice. I can hear if you're sad, if you're angry, if you're happy. And in a text, you don't get that. So that's huge as far as communication, right?
Well, social media has really
Is
changed the ball game. I mean,
yep,
we are the last generation, to have survived before the internet and even cell phones. We didn't have cell phones. Now, what's really crazy is going to be AI because AI, you can fake everything. So
right,
you, at least in the current generations and all, they were being who they were on social media, but now you can change everything from your looks to your voice to you can have a clone bots or
right,
whatever, pretend to be who you are. And so the connection part, I can't see where we're actually going forward in the true connection part. I mean, there's a lot of laziness anymore as far as what people have to do. You would think that you could work a little bit harder. And that's one of my biggest disappointments when it comes to humans. We're all created differently. Our
right.
languages are different as far as how we feel, how we speak, our experiences are different. Um, but I think the word karma gets thrown around way too much in the wrong context. Karma is a balancing. Karma is a universal tool that allows people to understand things from all sides. So
Mhm.
when we do something that is short-sighted, karma will send a corrective action to help us understand what we missed. So that's all karma is. It isn't some evil stepmother, with a ruler in her hand smacking you on the wrist. It is a universal correction. And I think that that's one of the things, I said in the first, I live my life in a very spiritual way. And I do that because it's about rewards. I don't do anything for something in return because you just do it because it's the right thing to do. So these folks that are out there, I often wonder how they think or how they got into the position of using people. I mean, because that's kind of what it is. If somebody is deceiving you, if somebody is betraying you, it's one thing if it's done accidentally. Intention matters.
Right,
Intention, I even think that the universe itself weighs out intention.
right,
So like the oracle said, I mean, you don't go out looking for love.
right.
Men go out looking for sex and maybe they wind up with love. And that's actually kind of what happened in my third marriage was he wasn't looking for love, and then boop, there I was.
Right.
He wasn't getting married again.
Ding,
Uh,
ding. Can I say something? Can we get back to the AI thing for a minute? Because
Yes.
here's what I want to say to you ladies: stop filtering your photos. Please stop.
Right.
That's all. I mean,
No,
you know,
and in addition to that, one really good thing about that AI cannot do that people need to remember because people worry about jobs and such with AI. The one thing that AI cannot do is it cannot love and it cannot demonstrate feelings, right?
that word is sentient, right?
Mhm.
So it has not reached the point of being sentient, which means it's able to have emotion. It can't
Mhm.
feel. And that is, to be honest, that is our greatest gift as well as our biggest, it's our best asset, but it's also our biggest shortcoming because people will do things based on how they feel that put them in jeopardy, you know? It's interesting to me how people are designed really, because you have the one person that's willing to jump into a freezing lake to save someone without a
Agreed.
second thought, and you've got another person that will walk by a starving dog and not
Right.
bat an eye, and that's where I don't understand. So when we talk about getting back to our subject of fooled by love. In order to be fooled by love, there's people on two different sides of that fence. There's the person that went into it with the best of intentions, and there's the person that went into it with not dedicated but misleading. Because it's one thing, there's different standards here. One is there are some people that a person will tell directly, "Yeah, I'm not into a relationship." And then you get a woman that will go, "Oh, I'll change him. Oh, I'll fix it." I watch women do it all of the time. They think that they have some kind of special power to change that man's mind. And then
Or,
they,
right, they think that this time will be different and they ignore the
right.
red flags and we convince ourselves someone loves us or is compatible when it's really not true.
And what I'd like to add to that is there are people, to the person that is out there saying to themselves, every time I meet someone, and it doesn't work out, the next person they meet is the one they marry. That's a huge signal to that person that they need to correct something within themselves. Because when I can tell you this, I was a person that had a lot of failed relationships. This story that I told wasn't the first time that I was fooled. I was fooled, several times.
Mhm.
But you grow up through the process. It will teach you, but you have to learn boundaries. My life did not improve. My relationships did not improve until I realized I was the problem. I was a
Right.
good person. I was doing everything right. How could I possibly be the problem? I don't understand. Well, it isn't intention that gets you in trouble. It
Mhm.
is, okay. So what is the saying? They say that, attraction is you recognizing your wounds in someone else.
Mhm.
And what I realized is I was picking the same people based on my wounds. And the only way that my situation was going to change and I was going to find a relationship that I would be happy is if I changed me. I had no power to change anything outside of myself. So I did. When I had the epiphany that I was the common denominator in all of my relationships, regardless of how bad those guys were, how they treated me, I was picking them.
Right.
So how could I possibly blame anyone but myself? And the moment that I stood in my own space looking at myself and took accountability for why I was where I was, and I said to myself, this was the best advice I ever gave myself. I said, I'm going to love like I've never been hurt before.
Mhm.
But
Right.
I'm going to establish boundaries and I'm not going to move them for anyone. And I will make that an episode where that's a very deep conversation. It requires a lot of explanation, but I can tell you, as soon as I drew that line, the universe decided to test my fortitude. And was I going to stick with this by introducing me to my third husband, who was my Cosmo guy? He was a little bit hard to land, which was good. It was the universe testing me to make sure that I did not move my own boundaries, because had I done that, I don't believe I would be where I am today. And what I mean by that was, I was used to meeting someone and I like you, you like me, let's see if this works out. And we would just,
Mhm.
try it. But what happened when I met my husband today, he was dating multiple people. And I had never been with a man that, didn't like me right out of the gate. I'm like, well, I'm so likable, right?
Right.
How could he possibly not fall in love with me instantly? Well, that didn't happen. And and, he tested my boundaries multiple times, and I actually broke up with him a couple times, which broke my heart because I was really into him, and, but I did realize that that was the universe's way of testing me to see if I had graduated, from my previous mistakes, and when all was said and done, he came back, and once he committed, we've been in a wonderful situation ever since, so it does happen. I have been a fool for love, and I am no longer a fool for love. And that
Right.
came when I changed something inside of me, not when anything externally changed. Because there is a saying that there is people that change the environment to them and people that change to their environment. And one is much happier. So the
Right.
people that try to mold the environment to them will never be happy because it will never happen. So you have to be like a surfer of life. You have to be willing to let go of
Right.
some of your own obstacles, I guess. Do you realize, do people reflect? Are you taking responsibility for any of the situations that made you a fool for love? Is what
And
I'm saying.
I was going to say, the irony of people thinking that they're fooling everyone. And when you realize that you were fooling yourself, right?
That's a hard admission. That's a very hard admission.
And sometimes that person being fooled isn't the one smiling in public. It's the one hoping that their partner will suddenly act the way they imagined for years.
So that's partially ignoring your instincts because I
Right.
do think your instincts tell you exactly everything and then ignoring them because because hope is not a plan,
Right.
which I
So then you have to ask yourself, how do you spot the authentic part early and the cues like body language in people, silence or forced gestures that we ignore, right?
so with age comes wisdom, right? And
Right.
if you grow, you do start to realize things. And I think one of the things I'm absolutely gifted at now that maybe I wasn't as a younger version of myself are the authentication cues. I can tell now when someone is being genuine and authentic by how they treat me. We live by a saying, my husband and I, that people are where they want to be. I tend to be a person with a very gracious heart. I am a person that likes to bring home lots of people. I've been a friend maker since I was in preschool. I've always bring people home and create these groups of people, and I'm often so disappointed um, that it's not always returned. My effort does not equal everyone else's effort.
True.
And so, but I can't blame them. See, this is where you go back to, they showed me who they were. And yet, even so, the friendships is a whole nother,
Right.
a road to walk down where you talk about is it being misled or is it being misunderstood?
You
Because
know,
yeah.
It's like you ask yourself, why do people perform love instead of showing the truth of it, right? But when you think about it, it's a little funny because some of the situations can be funny, especially if we're listening. Some of it's sad, but at the end, it's human, right? And people do it every day. And um, that nerve that strikes you or how you are, your moral compass, that's human. Like you said, you are always the giver, and it's frustrating when others don't, but that's
So,
human.
what's interesting to me is I just had an epiphany here about AI and robotics and emotions. So, we have not reached the point in time yet in which robots and AI have a sentient ability. But I wonder if, I like to talk about alignment.
Mhm.
Alignment is a real thing that if you are the type of individual, again, being very spiritual, believing in astrology and other things, I tend to see alignment in the universe. And I'm looking at
Mhm.
this and wondering if people have become less emotional on the outside or more internal because of social media,
Yes.
AI, internet, And they are now trying to have, like they have robots out there, relationships with things because they talk back.
Right.
It doesn't have emotion. It doesn't have real emotion, but they think they're getting something from it because their need is getting met. But
Right.
it's an imbalance. And it makes me wonder if the alignment of AI coming along and robotics and everything isn't designed to show future generations that are becoming more excluded from real connections, if it won't have to bring that back into focus later, because it will be the thing that makes people realize they are missing something. Because let's face it, if whatever you believe in, whatever your religion
Right.
is it not about relationships and connections? It is all about that. It is about the human connection, um, and if you don't have that, what do you have? You have a world full of human things like money and power and greed and so forth. So at the end, no matter what, everything is always going to come back to the human connection. So these folks out there that are fooling people, if it's you, I've watched women do it too. Just because I'm a female, it's easy for me to pick on a guy,
Right.
but the truth of the matter is there's a lot of women out there that I know personally that I've
Yeah.
seen in action, and they are out there looking for stability. They are looking
Right.
for anyone that checks their boxes, that meets their needs, and then when they come up short later in these relationships and they wonder what happened, because if you weren't seeking a genuine human connection, if it was the stability or the security that was leading you, that's what you'll get. You won't get
Right.
the human connection. So you will only get what you work for. If you work for money, you'll find money. If you work for love, you'll find love. But you have to ask yourself about the depths of those things. Are you finding the right kind of love? It's like praying for the right things,
Right.
right?
Right. Well, you have to look at it. Love can be messy, it can be confusing. And when we try to perform or to convince others or smooth over what's real, but the truth of the matter is that love is about what we feel and not what we perform. For example, when I think of true love, like just think for a second, but for me, it's when I walk in the door and my dog Whiskey, she greets me with enthusiasm, like so hard to match, and her tail's wagging and the way she looks at me and her eyes, like I'm her whole world. That is love. There's no illusion. Or when you see a small child, get that birthday cake, right? Like that feeling is love, and there's no confusing. It's authentic, right? Um,
It's innocent. It is
yes,
before, the world has poo-pooed on, their feelings and their emotions, because that happens over time. Every disappointment, every failed or missed opportunity hurts a person's feelings, and it causes people to go further into their own shell, right?
right,
So when you see a little kid, just like you see on those videos, I love those videos on Facebook where they're scanning a child in an audience, like an auditorium, and they see their parent or whoever for the first time and they light up just like whiskey, right? You just see
hmm,
that face become a glow of excitement. And it's a shame that we can't be that for everyone all the time. And most of that comes from, I hate to say it, but probably trauma,
right,
right? There's a lot of abuse, a lot of misuse of people. I mean, that's a whole nother subject to itself, and we're not going to go down the road of gloom and doom here. But we are a byproduct of the lives that we've lived, the people that we've known, the love we've been given, the love that we share. I know. I mean, I give credit where credit is due. And I am the person I am today because of my parents. I did not know the world was as cruel as it is or as heartless as it can be because I didn't feel it growing up. And it gave me the positive optimism that I want to keep and carry and give to other people. You can turn anything around at any time with the right attitude. You can shine your inner light no matter what has happened to you, and finding joy, which is going to be an upcoming episode, and how to do that is so powerful, to wake up every day on the right side of the mind game, because it's
right,
all a mind game, you
right.
know? So, Mr. Oracle, you've been quiet for a while. I know that the deeper stuff, is.
I'm learning a lot.
Are you taking notes?
I am. I'm listening to both of you, um, give your views on happiness, and so I'm learning a lot. I mean,
I think my message to everyone today is don't wait until it's too late. Don't wait until the funeral. I get that not everybody is a great communicator, and some people, it just doesn't come naturally, right? Um, but tell everybody, because April Fools, something to remember, the biggest fools aren't the ones being tricked. They're the ones pretending that the love looks perfect when it's not, right?
Yeah, and I think a fear of rejection holds a lot of people back. But at
Right.
the end of the day, if you extend an olive branch, if you willingly let your walls and your guard down to meet someone where they are and they refuse or reject you, stand in pride with that you did the right thing. You made the effort, you tried to improve a human relationship. And if somebody rejects that, they're allowed to reject that, and that's okay. You are not a fool for doing it. You're blessed for doing it. And I truly believe, that the universe rewards those who do.
Right.
And you give it away to keep it. I will always say that whatever gifts you have, share them with the world. Absolutely share them. They were not given to you to keep to yourself. Um, and sometimes it's like I'm just in such a fantastic place in my life internally,
Mhm.
as far as where I am, belonging to a group of artists and being able to help people. That is so meaningful to me.
Mhm.
One piece of advice I'd like to give to everyone is if you are sad or depressed for any reason at all, if you're not feeling it, do something good for someone else. That
Right.
will change your attitude, your mind frame right away. It is the one way to fill your well when it is empty faster than anything else that you can do. There are so many people out there that need connection. Just
Yeah.
connect. Just put the wall down. Try it once, because your walls are harming you. That's what
Right.
I've learned. I've never regretted being vulnerable a day in my life. It has brought so much joy and wealth and connection into my life that I do feel like when my time comes, the life that I've lived has been one of servitude to others. Like when people go, "Why are you helping that person?" You don't know them. I help who needs help. If I'm put in the path of a human that needs me, I stop and I help. And it's not for anything that I'm going to get, but in the long run, I do get. I receive in return happiness. I receive joy. My well gets filled in a way that you cannot explain if you haven't done it. You don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank to go be a
Right.
secret Santa to someone to make a difference. Walk their dog, mow their lawn, help an elderly neighbor, and um, that's another way to get over being fooled. So I know
Right.
we are definitely going to go in lots of different directions on this show because we are talking about relationships, and there is so much to it.
Right.
There are just so many avenues to go down, that we're just excited to share and talk and communicate, just like we are. And believe it or not, minus a few cuss words from the Oracle, this is the way we kind of speak to each other. So, right?
That's right. Bless others, blesses you.
did I
Yeah.
did I drop a cuss word?
No, sir, you
Oh,
did
okay.
not.
I'm doing really well then. Yeah. Don't get
Yeah,
behind the wheel with me.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, next time we'd like a little more from you.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to chime in. I mean, you guys are I don't know. You're so talking about feelings and all that, and uh,
It's the guy communication thing. It's okay. We completely get it. Um, again, Teresa, everybody's different, right? For some of us, it comes really natural. Some of us, it doesn't. Sometimes when you say things, it makes the other person, think of things that you normally wouldn't, right? Which is good, which is what we
Yeah,
want. We
yeah.
want you to think about things that
We
you normally
also
wouldn't.
we would also really appreciate comments,
Yes.
not comments on our performance. You can leave those to yourself. No, I'm just kidding. Comments,
What you want to hear, what you
well,
want more
things
of,
that we
too.
talked about. If you have
Yeah.
questions specifically, like, well, how did you arrive at this? Or what do you do if this happens? Or what would you do? We are not experts. I will say that again. We're just some friends having a good time. sharing our knowledge and our experience with you. And the feedback, we want to be able to include you. We may eventually do some videos. We may eventually do some lives. But it's the feedback that you will provide that will govern, future things that we talk about. So on this April Fool's Day, we wish you no fool.
Right.
Change this to no Fool's Day.
Right.
But look, if you get fooled, it's a part of the process. It is a natural thing that
Life.
happens. It's the way that we learn. You will take something valuable away from it for yourself. Know that it needed to happen for a correction, some type of correction in your life. And just know that the person that's living in that way of being misleading or deceitful or betrayal, there's no true value and meaning, no depth to what they have, because they're not truly connecting. So in the end, they are the fools, and the joke's on them, right?
Right. That's it.
Okay, so with that being said, we have come to the conclusion of episode 2 of Diaries of the Late Bloomers. We really appreciate you joining us. This is Teresa.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Daniela and the Oracle. He will be back for future episodes. We don't know which ones he's going to join us for. But anyway, we wish everybody a fantastic April, and please stay tuned for the next episode. It will land on April the 11th, and it's going to be the 411 on something. We haven't picked the exact topic yet, but we're going to give you the information, the 411. So from all of us to you, have a fabulous April.